We're splitting up into other dimensions. All existence is on the line. No pressure. I'm Anthony.
I'm Damon.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Sean.
Welcome to issue number 156 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comic books. On this week's show, we've got club discussions for the penultimate issue of X-Ray Robot, which is issue number 3. And then we have the final book number 3 for Batman, 3 Jokers. We're also going to go all the way around the internet and talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old, in our weekly review section. Over in the news, we are going to offer our recommendations for Marvel and DC selections for items coming out in January and beyond. So it is an action-packed show here today. But before we dive into all that, you may have heard a new voice at the end there, my friend Sean. So welcome, Sean.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry I didn't make it last time when I thought I was going to be able to.
Yeah, I had a lot of people doubting that I had friends outside of this club, and thank you. This is proof. And by the way, if you check your PayPal, there will be a payment.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. That was, yeah.
So before we jump into the show, Sean, do you kind of want to give us a little origin story on your comic book hobby?
Sure. So my hobby began back like many a 80s and 90s kid. I got introduced to the X-Men through the cartoon, and in my particular school, I didn't have a lot of friends, but I had my best friend that I had met. We had met through church, and I was very nervous about telling him that I got into X-Men because I was like, that's make or break with kids. Like one day I'm into the Power Rangers, the next day I'm not. Suddenly I've switched over to the X-Men. And so I called him to tell him, like, hey, I picked up a comic book for the first time today, picked up an X-Men toy. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so happy you said that. He's like, I was just about to call you. We wound up going to the same comic book store, same day, just different times, and both got into the X-Men at the same point. We're worried that that was going to be the end of our relationship. But that's what kept it going all these years. Still to this day. So I think it's 92 or 93 maybe. So it's been a long time.
Awesome.
Yep. So it was the X-Men that hooked me.
And all of that was leading up to this very moment, your debut on the Crimson Cowl
That's right.
Club podcast.
It's all been training for this.
The piece de resistance.
It's awesome to hear. So yeah, welcome to the show here.
Thanks.
And
Alright.
speaking of an X-Man,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes, X-Ray Robot. That is one way to transition into it.
I thought Anthony had some sort of announcement or something, but
Yes. Remember all those dresses of David's wife's Tammy that I was wearing? Anyways, we're going to kick it off here with the club discussion. This is the penultimate issue of the book X-Ray Robot. This is issue number 3. Max Wilding, super scientist, travels through another dimension before the ultimate nihilist can put an end to both Max and reality itself, while his co-workers are thrown into strange timelines that threaten their safety and sanity. This here is a mini-series that we started talking about at the beginning of the year. We always kind of do a little recap of the issues leading up to it. We do have cover A by the All Reds, Mike and Laura, and then cover B, which is a Greg Smallwood variant. A little Pink Floyd shout out there. And then the letters for this issue are done by Nate Picos. So Max Wilding and a team of scientists are on the verge of discovering interdimensional travel. They hook up to a robot that attaches itself to Max. It detaches, it reattaches, back and forth. Suddenly another robot appears out of this portal. And it's Max from the future, 270 years later in the future. And he's warning him that the ultimate nihilist is destroying all of reality. He needs their help by finding the original X-Ray robot in the other dimensions to basically sew everything back together. That's kind of the sum up of what happens in issue 1 and 2. This here, issue number 3, this is kind of the overview before we dive into it. We see Marnie, who enters a world into where she runs into herself. Dr. Osamu discovers a society that has found a way to erase racism. And then there's this one reality about Max, who lands on a trash island. Honestly, wasn't all that exciting, and quite frankly, it's pretty forgettable. So we'll see if we even get to that part or not. So yeah, we're gonna dive into this. We can kind of take it by parts. The first part we see, leaving off of issue 2, we saw that the lab exploded after all the scientists kind of jumped into their portals, and some crazy stuff was going on. And now we see that Max's wife shows up, kind of wondering where the heck, what's going on. The building's on fire, and it's kind of just a real quick opening until the literal opening of a portal with Marnie jumping into a strange world, so to speak, to where Max greets her by calling her sexy. So we're going to talk about this scene here. We can kind of cover the whole Marnie story. I think this is kind of broken out in 3 different parts. So let's cover Marnie. Anyone kind of want to dive in and
He's got a little bit of a saliva issue.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yes.
Just for a little quick smack on the lips.
It's a real Cruel Intentions moment, which I really dug. So,
Unless this version of Marnie was so upset by what was going on that she might have threw up a little bit. Maybe that's what we're seeing. But
yeah, because
actually she handles this very well. It's like, and I realize she knows what's going on. She's been told that they're going, there's alternate versions and things like that. But to actually go in there and see this and have somebody who looks just like the person in your reality treating you this much differently, you would think that there's no way to prepare for it. But she handles it very well, almost like it's expected. So she's confused by it, not sure, but she doesn't react in some strong way. So she's not alerting this other version of Max.
Yeah, and we kind of saw the opposite version of that in that very first issue when Max first kind of blended with the X-ray robot, and he kind of had some quick flashes, and then he saw his wife and his kids, who are now his boss's kids, and there was a little swap, and he was greeted with a kiss by Marnie. So now you basically have that opposite happening, but in this other dimension. So in this world, this could be that a little insight to that world that Max was, sort of kind of flashing in and out of. But yeah, that scene, like I said, we'll cover her stuff there, because quickly they talk about going over to the house, and it's a world where Max basically had just broken up with Layla, who is now with the boss. And it's kind of weird, you see the kids just kind of hanging out in the window there as they're picking up one final box of stuff there. But yeah, it's a lot of interesting kind of relationship stuff, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. But this is the moment when we see Marnie meet the other Marnie, How I Met Your Marnie, if you will. Anyone want to?
I thought it was strange that the time traveler or the dimension traveler, she kind of knew what to expect, but when the other one met, she goes, "What? She's me?" And that was it.
Yeah, there's one thing with this being like a 4-issue series. This issue was very action-packed, very fast pacing, and it's almost just one of those just being yep, we're just gonna, you kind of press fast forward on a lot of it, but get to sit around with a lot of reactions and dealing with the, all the details of the science behind it all.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference in the way that this is done versus, say, if this were an ongoing comic, and they could take more time to delve into these things and the reactions and what's going on with these relationships. We really get these really quick glimpses into what's going on, and they're fast paced. And yeah, that takes away from the realism that could otherwise be there in the reactions, and you look at it and go, well, that's just too fast of a reaction or whatever. But that's exactly why. I mean, you're packing this into 4 issues, and there's a lot of things going on. So I get it, but I agree with Jim there, where it's like some of the stuff, it's like it's just so fast that I feel like it could have been better story wise if you got a little bit more and spent a little bit more time on any of this. They go through all these realities and everything. Everything's so quick, and you're going, why did we even just do that?
And her story wraps up with after they had left, then they find out that there was a fire, and it quickly is another thing that isn't really dove into is this person that apparently showed up on their front door and just started shooting. So this is just another, like, something crazy once again that who knows, maybe we'll get a little glimpse of that in the last issue, but it also feels like maybe we won't in a way. I don't know if anyone thinks.
I didn't go back and look at the first couple of issues, but I wanted to after reading that part, because I was going, wait, do we know this person?
Yeah, I don't think, because the only other females between Marnie and Layla, and I'm wondering if we've seen maybe did we? Oh, I think we saw the boss's wife briefly, but I don't think that's her.
Yeah, because just the thought that somebody, I mean, this is a person who's dressed in kind of like almost like she works in an office or whatever, and to just knock on the door and start gunning people down and setting fire to the place, you would think that there's some sort of reason. So again, I didn't get a chance to, but I really want to go back and look at the first couple of issues and think, did I miss this character? Is this character somebody who has been introduced? It's going to be really weird if she hadn't been previously, and we get through the end and there's like no explanation as to why this person just like showed up and
Yeah. I think it is the boss's wife. We don't see her too much, but when he kind of returns and sees that his wife is kissing the boss, and he's kind of flipping out in that first issue, but right away she's like, Max, let go of my husband. What's wrong with you? And this lady right here, if we can kind of see, her skin tone looks a little lighter in here, but maybe that's just.
No, I think it might be.
Yeah, so I think that's it. It's very. So yeah,
that makes sense, because you're looking at these people and they all seem very okay with the relationship changes and everything, and it all seems like, well, my wife is with my boss now, but I'm with my coworker, and everybody's okay with this and everything. So obviously somebody wasn't okay with it.
Yeah, that's her. Her hairstyle's the same with the bun and the bangs and everything, and then she's got glasses kind of hanging off of her neck there. So yeah, that looks like it's the boss's wife in our reality.
It just brings up one very common issue with comics, and that is that a lot of times, no matter how great of an artist you have, there ends up being people who look the same, and with no context, you look at characters in a comic book and you're thinking, wait, was this so and so? And I can't tell if this is this person or if it's somebody new or whatever, because some of the people will have the tendency to look very similar.
Yeah, but there's one character later on, we'll get to it, that wildly different from everybody else. I mean, almost like, let's say all these characters are handsome, but this other character is like way up here on the handsome level. So we'll cover that later, maybe.
The Nihilist?
Yep. Yeah, I didn't want to really get into it, but yeah, it's the Nihilist. So yeah, we see that there was a fire. This, I guess, the supposedly ex-wife of the boss, who's now with Layla, getting shoved into the squad car, and Max, that version's Max is flipping out, just busts through the window and starts choking her, and he's freaking out and everything. But then the X-ray robot basically shows up, opens up a portal, and basically ready to scoop him up. Anyone else have anything to say about the whole Marnie story of this issue at all? Okay, then we will jump over to the next one, dealing with Dr. Osamu, who is jumped into a world where he is. There's a bunch of
Everybody's Thanos.
yes. I was gonna say like everybody's Grimace, but
Yeah,
that's
at first I thought like everybody in this reality had joined Blue Man Group, but then I realized the coloring was a little bit more purple. It's really got that that Thanos skin color, minus the chin lines.
Yep. Yeah.
I originally thought that they were portraying them as African American because sometimes you see that color used or something similar to that used, and then you see like what's going on with the story, and it's like, and I wanted to see more about this world and how they dealt with that.
Yeah, he jumps in there and immediately
Well, they
sees
show you right off the bat, don't they? Or they instantly say, "You're different. Look at him."
Yeah,
yeah, there's
Roll
a,
but how it came about and all that. I wanted to read. I wanted to see more about that.
That reality really could have been like what's going on here. Could be its own book. I mean, I think it would be very interesting to explore a world where they've taken people and corrected the genetic differences to make everybody the same. So you don't have those different hair colors and skin colors and everything. My guess is people would still find a reason to hate each other, but it would be interesting to take a look at a reality that is like this. So maybe down the road, he could revisit this type of story.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with David. I also thought that was a really interesting part. I find it kind of disturbing that their idea to solve racism was to actually just be pretty racist. And they sort of yanked him out there with like no consequences. So I would definitely like to see more. I think could be very interesting. Obviously not within the scope of this book, but good. And I was too slow on the first story. I was a little uncomfortable with the idea. It seemed like they were hinting at some infidelity in the Marnie story, and I did not like that. That didn't sit well with me. So I guess we'll see where that goes. That would be pretty weird, actually, to like a goal of yourself, and then you're both dating the same guy. Yeah, and yeah. So I'll talk about the next story in the book.
Yeah, and like kind of going back to when the doctor is captured and he kind of is in this kind of hospital holding room area and he's looking at kids, and David was talking about the correction. He said he's found a society that they found a way to erase the racism, and basically kind of talking about being corrected and that he's too old to be corrected. And he kind of makes I like this kind of line here where because he's kind of wondering what's going to happen to him, and he's like, well, do you have a space program? Maybe just launch me into the void.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Just, you know what, shoot me out into space. And
Who's Alton Baker? Does
Yeah,
Alton Baker refer to anybody?
say that again.
Does Alton Baker refer to anybody?
That
The park name is Alton Baker. I was wondering if that had any reference to anybody.
no, I remember looking into that, just noticing it, but I don't think it was any reference of any sort that I'm aware of.
somebody didn't pay quite enough to get drawn into the book, but they had their names thrown in there.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
And-
Sean, you have read these.
Yeah, I was Anthony told me to beat me up and drive all the way over here, and if I didn't.
Yeah. Now you're typically a DC Comics fan, is that correct?
Oh my god. Yes, I am. I'm all my friends here and at the comic book shop that I would go to here when it was still around was they would always tease me because I'm 100% Marvel, and everyone always assumes that I have some issue with DC, but it's just I'm a bit obsessive. Like my collection's pretty insane. So if I had gotten into DC, it would have only doubled. So I try to steer clear of some other stuff and remain on budget. But Anthony, he put the hard press to me, he put the squeeze on me. It was like,
the virtual squeeze.
I was like, didn't you order like 1,000 of these? And he was like, don't care. You got to order your own or I'll beat you up on Piggly Wiggly.
That's right. Yep. I needed to put people to task, but any thoughts on these first two stories involving Marnie and the doctor at all, just before we close the book on theirs?
Since you have a pipeline to Allred, well, with your cool connection and all, do you wonder sometimes with the doctor storyline if any of that changed in the gap time period that we've had between when this was originally solicited? Like, do you think that any of this story changed in the time period between the first two issues being released and then the shutdown of everything? And then, you know, because I know other stories throughout comics have been a bit affected. So I'm just,
And the
when I read
racial
that part,
tensions that happened over the summer.
yeah.
Yeah, and from what I know, and that's definitely a great question, because I remember him going through my photo album. I saw a picture of X-Ray Robot like sometime early last year, like before this was even, you know, actually announced in the previews and stuff. So it was something that I know that he was definitely in the process of putting together. But the issue 3 was being drawn in March. It was being drawn, and so I mean, yeah, you could always change, you know, the text and got time to alter things if you need to. But I'm pretty confident that his story was wrapped up and ready to go on the normal timeline, just because he's, you know, he's working on some other stuff that he hasn't announced yet. But my guess is that he actually had it all locked in. Whether or not that means he changed any story portion is who knows. But yeah, I'll text him here and see if we can.
All right. Yeah, you let me know.
You mentioned quarantining. I'm just wondering if that was like.
Yeah, that word was. Yeah, you didn't hear that word too much prior.
Exactly.
To,
So when I read it, I was like, oh, I wonder if suddenly while quarantined, he was like, we got to cover this.
And that might have been something too. Maybe he just had a different, you know, word, but like, hey, I can throw that in there now. But yeah,
Well,
that would be.
At least he doesn't have a character writing in, I have to self-isolate.
That's right.
Like, oh, because there's murder hornets. Yeah. But yeah, so that'll kind of lock up that. And that's pretty much the end of the story for the issue. There is one more part. I guess we'll just talk about it because we do. Yeah, we got some time. Our main character, Max Wilding, throughout the book here, we see him jump out of his portal into basically a giant mound of trash, something that is later referred to as a trash island. And what's kind of funny, he jumps into this reality and right away he goes, well, I can't say I'll be sad about this place going away. Because, yeah, you look, it's really cool if you look at the art. I mean, you see a stove, you see a couch and bookshelf, but looking down there,
A bunch of comics in there. It just
yeah, there's some comics.
like knocking over a bunch of comics.
Have you guys seen the seahorses that are making out in the bottom there?
Yeah.
Look below below the trash island splash page there, and you see
Oh
some-
yeah.
Yeah, the thing I was trying to find something out, see if there was anything with the octopus, because in the first screen he's choking himself with his own tentacles.
Yeah. So yeah, he winds up on this trash island, and yeah, David had mentioned the comics, because also there's a bunch of
a whole bunch of if you can just see there all those Madman comics right there. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. In this world, this alternate reality that Max has entered into, it's a world where Mike and Laura Allred have made Madman comics, and they're just left in a big trash heap in a bunch of short and long boxes. But yeah, then we see like a head bust of something. Then there's, I don't know what this is. I got to get into the better lighting here. There's a wanted poster right here that says wanted by the FBI, but that's kind of an unknown character. I'm not sure who that could be. I don't know. Anyone know?
Maybe that's somebody that he knew that he decided to. Actually, I thought it was funny. It's like, wait a minute, Anthony's been drawn in twice.
Yes.
He double?
So for all the audio listeners who are definitely missing out on the YouTube, subscribe over to the YouTube channel and check it out. This issue we've been hyping up, or I've been hyping up, I've been making you guys listen to it, is the appearance of myself making a comic book cameo into Mike Allred and Laura Allred's work here. This was something that I had funded to help fund the Kickstarter that their son Han was doing, a documentary about Mike Allred as a comic artist and kind of exploring the existence of life through his work. And that's a documentary called Space Face. If you can go to Space Face movie or Space Face the movie, or check out Space Face on Kickstarter, you'll find it there. And it's something that it's in the process of being made yet, so it'll probably come out sometime in 2021. I don't think that's going to be held up by anything because he had a good portion of it done already. So, and one of the options was to be be immortalized into X-Ray Robot, their current book that they were promoting at the time. So I definitely took one of the 4 or 5 spots there, and I had no idea. I expected just to be, somebody in the background, a face in the crowd, sitting there at a restaurant or something. And I would have been completely fine with that. Didn't expect any lines of dialogue or any like multiple drawings or anything. So after the Kickstarter was funded, I sent Mike, he had followed me on Twitter, and asked for the reference photos. So I sent him 2 different photos, one a side profile, one straight on, because I wanted to kind of give him a good idea of what I look like, and depending on what he had in store for me, he had a couple pictures to work with. And then I remember getting like nervous right away, because then I'm like, oh shoot, oh, and by the way, I am 6'1" and I'm so and so, here's my weight. And then I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, like that one picture, it kind of looks like I'm bald, and I know this video is not going to show it off too well. Here we go, get in the light. But I'm like, oh, I'm not like, Lex Luthor bald, or Charles Xavier bald, or Norrin Rad Silver Down bald. I'm like, I was getting very self-conscious about like, all right, here I dropped some money, having my favorite artist. What's that?
I said, yeah, you just got head stubble.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, just my favorite artists are going to draw me and put me in a book that's going to be a lasting image forever. That's eventually going to probably wind up in a trash heap. That's what I assumed. And so I was getting worried, being like, oh, what if I'm drawn really weird? Do I have editorial correction that I could tell him like, oh, can you change this on me? So I was really kind of getting nervous once I actually sent him the photos, because I had no idea what he had in store. But then on March 24th, he sent me the penciled version of what we're looking at there of that panel. And I had no prior knowledge going into what it was going to be. And I could not have been more excited once I saw it. I busted out laughing. I'm like, okay, this is way better than just being a random, face in the crowd. For those watching here, see if I can get the screen to cooperate. Yeah, it's not working right now. But yeah, he sent me over. Here we go. He sent me over the penciled version of this here, and showing that I was on a wanted poster. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And he replied back and said, when you sent me your photos, immediately it screamed wanted poster. And so yeah, that was kind of cool that I sort of had this inspiration based on sending him multiple references that's what it ended up being. And it was something that I was sitting on since March 24th, sworn to secrecy, didn't tell anybody, haven't shown anybody. And it feels good that on October 28th, when this book hit the stands, people finally got to see it. So now that we've seen it, before we continue on with Max's story, does anyone have any idea of what this unidentified man in the wanted by the FBI, what do you think he was wanted for? Let's go, Damon.
Judging by the smirk on the face,
Yes.
and as a sub note, I just find it funny that when someone sees your picture for the first time, they immediately think wanted by the feds.
Oh yeah.
But I hate to say it, but you either got the I just embezzled a ton of money and donated it to charity look, or I've been naughty with kids look.
Oh no!
All right, so David, if there's a button that I think you can take people out of the Zoom, if you want to hit that on Damon, and we'll be good to go.
Anthony Damon, yeah.
Yeah.
No, well,
David.
looking at the amount of the comics that have been thrown out, and with your wanted poster right by then, I'm thinking maybe in this reality, comic books have been outlawed.
Ooh.
And because you have so many comic books that you're wanted by the FBI because of.
See, I thought he was wanted because he was throwing the comics out.
Oh, interesting. Kind of the opposite. Yeah.
In that case, lock him up. I am a little embarrassed though because I was wrong. At first, I read it. I got the panel right, but I was like, "Hey, I found him. I found Anthony's son in there."
Yeah.
And
yep.
I didn't realize, that he was right in that panel down there in the wanted poster. I was just focusing on the silhouette, thinking, "Oh, there he is."
Now, I was wondering if they were giving you a special honor by calling you the original.
Oh yeah, the original. But yeah, that's definitely a good theory there. Kirby, next up, have any guesses onto why I'm wanted?
I was there with Damon too. I was kind of thinking using the comic books to get yourself near the schools and then got busted flashing or something like that.
Well, they didn't draw him in a dress, so.
Yeah. All right, that'll be enough out of him. Let's jump over to Katie. Any thoughts?
Sure. So, inspired a little bit by Watchmen and Doomsday Clock, I think that in this alternate reality, superheroes have been outlawed, and you secretly had superhero powers, and you were trying to make the world a better place through them, and then the government got very mad at you for that, and so they sent the FBI to get you and arrest you for having secret superhero powers.
See, now Katie is the perfect example of giving the best possible answer, in which I think a lot of us could be inspired by for.
I know it's in that video of Katie. You can see there's a little something on.
A bunch of corona coughs there for some reason. You guys should get some tests. All right, let's say it. So Jim, you kind of gave your, is that your full answer? What you
Yeah.
Okay, Sean, let's hear what you have to say.
I think it's 100% a warning shot from the Allreds for stalking.
Now, I'm
I
actually
think they're laying the groundwork for a lawsuit if you get out of hand.
Now, it's very funny you say that, because that actually leans into my theory, because a couple episodes back, I still have to find it. The closest I ever got to revealing it was in one of the letters pages. We were talking about something, and I very offhandedly just mentioned, I'm like, I think it was something along the lines of like, oh yeah, I'll probably be wanted by the FBI for stalking the Allreds or something. And I just like threw that out. I want to say it was somewhere in like August, maybe July. I've been kind of scrubbing through the episodes trying to find that audio clip. But that was like the only time I've like really kind of flat out had said it in outside of the conversation of it all. And that actually is backed up with the fact that looking at that silhouette, looking at the original, being toppled over by Madman Comics, but then realizing the X-ray robot in this scene is actually just a toy. We see the Ultimate Nihilist rip his hand up out of the trash heap there, and we find out this is a world where Madman Comics exist and a toy of X-ray robot that is almost like our world. We don't have the X-ray robot toy yet, but it almost feels like this is almost our world, our reality, meaning that, I recording this Zoom right now, maybe this is all just a CGI background, and it's just to kind of throw you off the scent on where I could actually be. But yeah, I think that's going to be a popular choice. I think that's where I'm going with as well. Kind of what Sean had said. They're a little.
So you think our world is a trash island?
Pretty much. And I'm glad you
Okay.
brought up Trash Island once again, because to be part of this, I didn't find out, I think, until June or July. Mike Allred was on a comics art panel for an online Comic Con.
Oh, he was on a
And
panel too?
what's that?
He was on a panel too?
Yes. In a way, he's in all these panels because he's basically, he kind of writes himself as a lot of his main characters. So there's some similarities with appearance and stuff like that. He had talked about the importance of this Trash Island scene, and this is one, I had known about it, but he was talking about it to the world, and just kind of, I think he had just showed this big panel here, and he was saying how him and Darwin Cook, a Canadian writer and comic artist, famous for DC's The New Frontier, is a friend of his. At the time they were planning to do this book, they wanted to kind of share a book together, in which they'd both do the writing and the art. They'd kind of pass the page back and forth and both contribute and just kind of create something. Darwin had done some Madman commissions and stuff for like back covers and trading cards and things like that. And I think he'd done some variant covers, and I think he did some fill-in issues somewhere, maybe in the Atomics or Madman in the Atomics. But him and Darwin had this kind of dream to make a book together, and that book was going to be called Trash Island. And unfortunately, 4 years ago, Darwin Cook had passed away at the young age of 53, died of cancer, and they never got to even work on that book. So this whole sequence here of Max landing on Trash Island is basically his tribute to his friend, a love letter to Darwin Cook. And when I heard about that and found out that, I'm a piece of the trash on that Trash Island, I felt just so honored. Like, the cameo is way above and beyond just being, the guy playing a saxophone over in Purple Land or something. Just the idea that I'm kind of drawn into this scene of something that I don't think a lot of people are really going to know unless you had seen that video interview or hear this one right now. So I'm just, I feel not worthy of being part of that little tribute. So I hold that extra precious. And I just thought that was amazing to be part of that, to be on the same page as the main character, to sort of be on the same page as the robot, even though it's a toy. But I didn't know that when he showed me the page without the word balloons back in June. And then to see the red hand of the villain and to be on with Madman Comics, it could not have been a better cameo for my money. So
that bust wouldn't be any type of reference to Darwin.
Yeah, I was looking into that, and I think that might, because there's a poster or a magazine on the next page of Popular Science. There's a couple people. There's a picture frame of a couple, and I know that a guy that I had met online, when I found out he was one of the other donators, he had bought several spots because he was buying it for him and his wife, and I think a friend. So I'm guessing that these are those people, but looking at some pictures of Darwin, I didn't see him thrown in here at all. Maybe it's just pictures of Darwin. I mean, I've never met him or anything like that. I've only seen photos and stuff, but yeah, I would be curious to see if that was any kind of version of Darwin as well. But
So
yeah,
you never found out who the other person got drawn in as?
we're friends with each other on, we're friends with each other on Twitter. We have not yet conversed since this issue has come out yet. So, but yeah, I will have to check in on that and actually get that information on if the bust, the magazine, and the picture frame. I'm assuming that's all of us, but
That was
yeah.
what I thought too, just because of how they're positioned and everything. That I felt like clearly that was supposed to pay tribute to somebody, whether it was the other Kickstarter donor or if it was just somebody else that he was throwing in. And as long as I'm putting other people in, I'm gonna pay tribute to this person or that person.
Good. So yeah, that scene, that's where the Ultimate Nihilist kind of busts out of the trash, and there's a big fight going on, and talking about how he's going to win, and he's just kind of handing it to Max, and that scene goes on a crazy adventure as the X-ray robot opens up a portal and saves Max, and the Ultimate Nihilist starts kind of jumping in there, and they kind of go through this crazy into like the water and stuff. And did everybody? Not only were you trying to find my cameo, but did everybody find Nemo in here too? And
He's at P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Yeah, then there's this awesome splash page of just like the Ultimate Nihilist basically transforming and kind of looking like all our different characters throughout the book. I had to double check to see if I was one of these morphed characters too, but I was not. But yeah, it's kind of a pretty cool trippy splash page there. But then thanks to something called the Hope Rope, which is very cheerily and cheesily named, basically helping fish Max out of there and getting his future robot self and the original X-ray robot to save Max to enter basically our final portion of the story of him entering the safe space known as what was the name again? The arc. Oh yeah, the Surreality arc. Basically talking about a safe space in which that if something went wrong, they would be able to hide out there. But what's kind of funny about that safe space is how immediately it doesn't seem safe, because his future self is like, and as safe as it is here, you need to leave now. And then basically that's the end of the issue. Any comments about just that whole sequence and the battle with the Ultimate Nihilist? Anyone wants to jump in?
Yeah, I do. So I'm actually really enjoying the story and the characters, and I would love to see it continue. Something that I would like is after they solve time travel and multiple realities and put the Ultimate Nihilist in space jail, I would like to see them clean up Trash Island, because if they can figure out space travel, I feel like they can figure out polluting the oceans and how to fix that. Beautiful tribute to Darwin Cook, if that is what it is. I love that idea. I loved the design of the Ultimate Nihilist. He's just cool. He's kind of a cool bad guy. I like that a lot. Very vivid. It's interesting to me that while this could be, and I think actually is, a very dark story dealing with some pretty mature themes, it's very colorful. So it feels good. And just through that visual representation, you're reinforcing the overall theme and idea of this story, which to me plants a seed of positivity that there are smart people that are in control of what they are able to do, and there can be a good outcome to this. And I really liked that. And, you know, I don't know if Michael Allred did this or not. He seems like a pretty smart guy, so maybe he did. But I think we can relate that to the themes that are going on in our world right now. Is there's a lot that's out of our control, and I would like to believe that there are skilled, smart people, both as individuals and as groups, that can contribute to making it better. So that I guess that would be kind of the opposite of being an ultimate nihilist. And also, congratulations, Anthony. I know you're really excited about this, and it's great to finally be able to talk about it with you. So.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's definitely some good insight. You always kind of bring a deeper level of thinking, where I look at him like, oh, that's a cool punch and blah, blah, blah. And hey, there's Madman comics. But yeah, there's definitely a lot, deeper issues when you read it and kind of go into it. Anyone else thoughts on this team?
I was just excited to see you, buddy. It was a big moment.
Awesome. Yeah, it, like I said, holding on to it since March 24th was just, dropping that tease on the podcast, but I never teased anything in person for as many people that, I kind of hyped up about it. And then I got to a certain point when the issues started to come out again in September with issue 2. I started to kind of feel like, oh, it's happening now in October. And I'm thinking like, okay, am I hyping up too much? Like, oh, okay, yep, that's cool. And something where, you just like, oh, yep, there he is. Cool. Turn the page, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, after seeing it in print and going to a shop in Oshkosh, House of Heroes, I picked it up off the shelf there so I could get my first copy out in the wild. And while I had a bunch of pre-order copies online show up a couple days later, but it was pretty cool just to kind of walk into a store where, you know, a big Batman book had come out and a big Batgirl 50th issue had come out. There was a big Spawn issue was out there with a Chadwick Boseman tribute cover. There's a lot of big books on the shelf. And then there just happened to be one at the end of the alphabet that I appeared in. So it felt kind of cool to share the same space as all these other big comic books.
And a really big stack that just wasn't depleting.
Well, they had just had one copy on the shelf, which either is something that, you know, they didn't order heavy on, but also, hey, now the series is back. They might have had some pull list subscribers be like, oh, can you add that? Because they had advertised they had cover A, the all red cover, a week prior, but on the day of, it wasn't on the shelf at all. So my guess is that, you know, there was some late add-ons and stuff, but I felt good to pick up the Greg Smallwood one. I took a picture of it on the shelf, took a picture outside the store. I told the clerks, Dante and Randall, that, you know, I was in this book, and they were pretty pumped up. One other guy came around the corner. He's like, wait, you're in this? And so I kind of promoted Space Face and stuff too. But
did he and his quiet friends try to sell you stuff?
Say that again?
Did he and his quiet friend try to sell you stuff?
Yeah, I bought some Truly gum. And but yeah, anyone else have any kind of closing thoughts on that basically the whole issue?
Thanks to COVID,
I've just been looking at this page
long
again.
Time.
Okay. Thanks to COVID. Say that again.
Thanks to COVID, we've been waiting a really, really long time, and finally, Anthony cannot talk about it anymore.
Exactly. I'm not even excited about it before. So
everybody put on their 3D glasses and do that. It was a little disappointing. Anthony didn't get the 3D treatment.
Yeah, I've got a couple extra Madman 3D glasses, so I'll just hand them out here for everybody.
But Anthony hand delivered my copy, so it was like I got the 3D treatment then.
Yeah.
So what did people think about this page?
Oh, that looks so much better in print. Seeing it digitally, it looks way cooler as the splash page is meant to be. I like that.
I'm looking at this, and I thought that it was Max that was kind of devolving into the other thing. And then something that Anthony said made me think it might be going the other way around. The way you phrased that maybe the Nihilist is actually turning into Max.
Yeah, because looking at it, looks like we almost see the boss in one of these. Like each.
I think the Nihilist is the boss. They put him in a garbage bag, throw him into the garbage heap pile, and then he burst out of the garbage stack, and then you see the ultimate Nihilist transform into all those things, and you see the boss's formation and stuff. But I think you're going to find out that the boss is the ultimate Nihilist, because he's always been kind of a dick from the beginning.
That is true. And
you would think he'd be on board with everything, since he is the boss of the project.
Yeah, because he's got a mustache in one of the one or two of the drawings there for the Nihilist in the giant splash page. So, or what they call the stash page. Yeah, Damon's laughing. He's just muted, so we can't hear him. But yeah, any other closing thoughts from anybody? All right. So yeah, we have one more issue.
Hang your hat that you got a hardcore Marvel fan to buy an indie book just because your mug showed up in it. So All Red should kick you back some royalties at some point.
I'm here. I think once the trade paperback sales come in, I'll probably just start seeing, those 2-cent royalty checks every now and then. It's going to be great. So,
or he'll just give you 15% off your 90 copies.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I did order quite a few copies. I had spelled out. I think I'll post that picture as I'll probably post it along on the Facebook for those listening. But I had 85 pre-ordered copies, and I spelled out X-Ray Robot using all of the covers that I had gotten in the mail, and just kind of showing it off. And speaking of which, when I told Allred that, because I was double checking what issue I was going to be in, because I'm like, okay, good, because I pre-ordered this many copies, and he kind of flipped out and he goes, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to draw you an issue 4 and everything else I do from now, so I could guarantee selling that many copies. So.
And then he took his copies home and spread them out on his bed and got naked and climbed all over them. And then I picked up a copy from him, and it's got ants all over it.
Yeah, you don't want to know how I signed that one.
But I used to think Anthony was an all right guy. Now I think he's just trash.
No, I'm an all red guy. So I didn't know this was going to be kind of a Comedy Central roast all of a sudden. So we have one issue left. It felt good to be part of All Red history. And also that it is a penultimate issue. We all know how much I love saying that word, and I might say that word in the next segment for something too. But we have one issue left that's going to come out November 25th. So I'm just going to switch gears over here to advertise issue number 4 of X-Ray Robot coming out November 25th. Then we'll move back over here. And okay, that promotion is taken care of. And I am done talking for a while, except for setting up the premise for our next book, which I am going to take over to Jim once I read the premise here. We are reading Batman 3 Jokers. This is book number 3. The final chapter of the most terrifying and personal Batman mystery is here. Still reeling from their last encounter with the 3 Jokers, Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood discover the terrible truth about the 3 Jokers plot. Will the Caped Crusaders have the strength needed to put an end to the maniacal menace's master plan once and for all? That sentence kept going. Or will lights be out for good? All right. Jim, do you want to take this over so I can get a drink of water here?
All right. This is the final issue of this story, and I think I ended up being really happy with the way it ended, because until the ending here, I was figuring that this is going to be a story that is going to have to exist outside of canon. It's going to be like an Elseworlds type of thing. I enjoyed it, but I can't make it work as a part of the story, canon story, like it originated from in the Justice League. However, he brought it around and he made it work. I think my headcanon has to kind of rearrange some of the chronological appearance of some of the stories before this, but it works, and I'm really happy with this story. This is Batgirl, Batman, and Red Hood coming together again after Red Hood killed one of the 3 Jokers, and coming to at least a detente on how they are going to proceed to end what's going on with the remaining 2 Jokers. And they are able to bring down both of the remaining Jokers, at least temporarily, one permanently, one temporarily. And I was a little surprised to see which one they did bring down. I don't know. Who has all read this one, by the way?
All read? No, that was in the last segment. But I read this.
You don't think Allred read this one?
Honestly, I don't think so. He's probably too busy.
All right. Just wondered, Damon, you got it? Okay, yeah. Katie, did you? No, we lost Katie. Okay.
I did not. No, I'm here. I did not. Go ahead.
All right. So, I like this page, and I thought, what are they going to do to us? Right off the bat, they're in the Batcave. They're looking at a crime board that Batman's put together, and we see all these other numbers with Joker faces on it. It's like, how many have there been over the years? I see number 19, 20, whatever. Have there been that many Jokers? Yeah, here we got a good shot of the table with all the pictures of the Jokers laying out.
Got to catch them all.
Yes, you do. This
Yeah,
has brought together so many different elements about the Joker mythology over the years and kind of tied them into one story. There have been multiple origin stories given for the Joker in comics, in movies, in different, different comics. Some comics have him starting out one way. Others have done, completely different. Like the Jack Napier. I think you see the Jack Napier comic, the Joker, from the Batman Michael Keaton movie here, where it says the Painter. If you look at that, all you see is the eyebrow, but it looks like the Jack Nicholson Joker eyebrow.
Oh, okay.
And the nickname is the Painter.
Yeah, that one.
And then,
missed that one.
And then some of the nicknames they give him, the dentist, and they refer to the fisherman. There's a famous story where Joker poisoned the fish.
The laughing.
People's
It's just all these. What was that?
I just said the people's eyebrow. It's a rock thing.
Okay.
You got to
Don't
smell
know
I
that.
that
mean to
one.
confuse you guys with sports. I'll shut down.
But yeah, that is interesting to see to kind of go into the theory of all these different ones and into the Jokerverse, if you will.
And doesn't the one up here look like Cesar Romero?
I'll hear about this number 7 too. It says the talk show host. Is that any reference to the
Yes,
Joker
and
Joaquin Phoenix movie?
that's what I thought too. It doesn't look like him, but
Yeah.
at least the names, yeah. So, and then in addition to that, the ending. I don't know how much we want to go into spoiling the story, but before we get to there, the Killing Joke, where Batgirl was shot, and the appearance of Joker in that story it very much mirrors when they get together and they go into the Monarch Theater. Batgirl takes the side, or the top. Red Hood comes in from the basement, and Batman comes in the front door. One of the Jokers meets Batgirl, and she meets this Joker with the camera around his neck, which is the cover of The Killing Joke for most of the time, but in that one he's usually wearing a Hawaiian shirt, but we see that. This is the comedian Joker there. The criminal Joker is the one who has gotten Joe Chill, and he brings him to the theater, and he is going to face off with Batman. We see Joker with a vest of dynamite. We've seen that before. Just amazing how Jeff Johns has gone and put so many of the Joker references into one story. And they tell Batman they're going to make Joe Chill into their third Joker and drop him into the chemical vat.
Yeah, the whole diving into the whole Joe Chill stuff and really seeing, what the Joker is talking about towards the end, which, I mean, I think we could talk about it, right? You want to talk about it?
Okay. Joe Chill. He is a character that has been off and on in a DC continuity as being the one who killed Martha and Thomas Wayne. It set Bruce off on his career as Batman. And currently he is, I believe, the one that is established as being that person. It's been changed throughout the years. And now the Jokers have kidnapped Joe Chill out of was it Arkham or Blackgate? I don't remember. I think it was Blackgate.
Blackgate.
Yeah. They took him out of Blackgate and they set him up to make him the third Joker. And of course, Batman does end up rescuing him after he had gone to Blackgate and found stack of letters addressed to Bruce Wayne in Joe Chill's cell. During the course of his investigation, minister who has been working with Joe Chill explains why these letters are all there. And apparently Joe Chill over the course of the years has had a turn of heart and has felt remorse for what he did. He gets the opportunity to explain that to Batman. But Joe Chill, while he knows who Batman is, he does not know who that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So his expression of remorse is not necessarily meant for Batman, but it ends up reaching the right person ultimately.
Yeah, and I thought that was real powerful, just how the Joker explains about the whole idea of of Batman having these pains throughout the years, and they were using Joe Chill as a way to kind of, because there's a moment of Batman ultimately saving Joe Chill, but Joker's only using that to his own benefit of basically being the only pain, they're Batman's greatest pain, basically, and it's such a Joker thing to do.
You're right. And well, I mentioned how the Batgirl comes in from the top of the theater. Red Hood comes in from the lower levels, and they kind of meet in the middle. And in the meantime, they are being delayed by an army of Joker poisoned ushers, theater ushers. And while they're doing this, you hear kaboom, or like a bang, bang, bang. And you don't know who's shooting who. Is Nightwing shooting? Why do I keep saying Nightwing? Is Red Hood shooting one of these guys? Is Joker shooting Batgirl again? That kind of thing. And it ends up what you find out that the shot was right here on this page, that the one Joker ends up shooting the other.
Yeah, that was yet another Joker thing to do. But yeah, that
Did
was
he shoot through Batman's ears?
Yeah, apparently.
Sometimes they'll have those panel breaks that are actually still part of the same image, but just to kind of help guide the dialogue. However, this is one where it is separate viewpoints per panel.
And when you find out which, it does say there, right, that it was the comedian who does the shooting. After it's all taken in, we get a narration by the comedian to Batman Bruce Wayne on why this was all set up. And it surprised me, because when we read the story all along, it seems like the criminal Joker is the one in charge. And he's the one that set this all in motion to have multiple Jokers to keep this going. But instead it is the comedian who set it up, which fits with this story that we see where this failed comedian, who was originally set up by the Red Hood gang and then set to take the fall, who falls into the vat of chemicals. That was one of the many origin stories over the years, and probably the most popular. At least it's my favorite.
Yeah.
So that stands up that character as being the original Joker, even though the original appearances of the Joker would be more as the criminal personality. They never showed anything, as one of these other personalities. The comedian or the clown basically came out of the TV show, The comedian later came in later, and the criminal was the original comic book persona. But to have the origin story stand up as the comedian being the original of the three, that was good. And then it also shows why that was important, because we see a little bit of flashback stories, Batman talking to Alfred, where the comedian is taken away from his wife, and then his wife is taken into hiding from him. And the reason why is she is hiding in Alaska with a young boy that the Joker does not know that he exists.
Yeah, talking about a story, that she was killed. That's what they had told him, and
Which is the reason why Batman, even though he knows, and he says he has known since a week after the Joker first appeared, who he was, why he has never bothered to tell anybody or release that information, because it was too important to keep the secret of where his wife and child were.
yeah, I thought that was,
I mean,
awesome.
an amazing ending, upheld and enhanced so many different things about Joker mythology over the years. And like I said, up until this point, in fact, and up until the last third of this book, I was content to say this is a great story that does not fit into continuity. And, in that last couple pages, he turned it around and made it one of my favorite Joker stories already. Yes.
Yeah, it's I thought it was great as a whole. I really enjoyed these three books. And Damon, you had read these as well. Any thoughts on?
Jim pretty much touched on everything. I gotta say, for me, the most powerful moment, since Jim already kind of spoiled the ending anyways, and we can do spoilers. For me, one of the most powerful moments was the end of Joe Chill in the hospital, and standing there at his bedside while he's dying as Bruce Wayne, and right before Bruce is holding the letters of all the letters that Joe Chill wrote apologizing, and he reaches out and they're holding hands when Joe dies. And I'm like, wow. At first I was surprised, and I'm like, I don't know if I could have done the same, if that was me. But the fact that he was there and he did that was it kind of took my breath away. It was a very powerful moment. One you don't see too often in comics, at least that I don't come across. And that took me by surprise. And then he even goes a step further, and he's standing there at his grave, the grave site, which I'm sure Bruce probably paid for, I would assume, because that looks like a real big headstone, and that, and then the twist ending on the back that the Joker's wife and kid, I believe that was from the Killing Joke, that whole, and
right.
And the Killing Joke is one of the first Batman stories I read when I got into comics. So that was a very nice tie-in and conclusion. And those were the two best moments in this book for me. And I thought it was a very nice conclusion to the three issue run. And it was a lot of fun.
And this fits, at least thematically for me, it fits between Death of the Family, which was a important Joker story from the New 52, which probably happened in 2012, if I remember correctly, and the Dark Side War, where Batman discovered the existence of three different Jokers, which occurred in 2016. Now, thematically, it actually you have to reverse the stories, I think, but chronologically, they have to exist that way. So unless you say that the publication history does not meet the real chronology or whatever, which would be fine, because they don't always have to match up. But it works, because the attitudes between Batgirl and Red Hood and Batman don't fit until after or to like before the death of the family. Because once death of the family, everything was strained and has been strained ever since until like right now, where the current continuity Joker War kind of brought things back together. So as the relationship was strained, but not that bad here. It seems like it should have happened before the death of the family, but after the Dark Side War.
Good, good. Yeah, I highly enjoyed it. I'm very glad that I picked it up. Any other final thoughts for this book?
So I did just read it really quick on Kindle, and what a phenomenal book. I read it digitally. I would definitely pick this up in print. It's got me teary-eyed. I haven't felt like that about a comic in a while, but wow, what an ending.
And the art has been incredible too.
You haven't felt that way since X-Ray Robot number 3, page 7.
That's true, actually. When that download hit my phone and I opened it up, oh my goodness, I was just overcome. But yeah, what a great book. And I'm always learning more about Batman, which is a joy. And I feel like I didn't have to have a ton of knowledge about Batman, but in no way did this book talk down to me. Like, it actually assumed that the reader was pretty intelligent and pretty knowledgeable, while still being accommodating, and it looks gorgeous. So what a great book. I loved it so much.
It was like, I knew a lot of these things about the Joker, but if you didn't know them, I don't think, like Katie said, you weren't lost by it.
Yeah, the story was specifically written for everyone to kind of be on the same page in that way. So good. Well, Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, Brad Anderson, Rob Lay are the creative team on here. And
made me, I just want to say about Fabok and Anderson, I want to look into more of their work because it was incredible artwork for this story.
Yeah, I think, was Brad Anderson on the Doomsday Clock? I think he had worked with Jeff on that, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe some covers if
yeah, I'll have to look.
All right. Well, that will conclude this club discussion on Nightwing, 3 Nightwings. I mean, Batman, 3 Jokers.
And we got a cardigan.
Yes, yes. All right. That will do it for the club discussion section. Stick around for the weekly reviews.
Woohoo!
All right. Good chunk of comic talk there, everybody. This is the in-between scenes that the YouTube audience sees how the inner workings of a hit podcast. All right, I'm saving the audio and ready to record in just a second. Let me queue up my next book. Okay, we are recording audio. All right. Welcome back. This is the weekly review segment. We're going to go all the way around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. The book I'm very excited to talk about is from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Very glossy covers. Let me get the glare off of there, unless it's some bonus. Actually, you'll see our podcast feed there. This is The Last Ronin, issue number 1. Springing from the minds of the Ninja Turtle co-creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird comes an epic like you've never seen before. In a future New York City far different than the one we know today, a lone surviving turtle goes on a seemingly hopeless mission to obtain justice for his fallen family and friends. Okay, this is a very good jump-on book, almost like the Batman 3 Jokers book. If you haven't read Turtles comics, but you know the idea of the Ninja Turtles as they are, this is jumping into a future story. What's really cool about the design of this book is that up until the very last page, which we will talk about, spoilers are welcome in this segment as well, but the whole story is making you guess on who this last turtle is. And as we see on the cover here, he is basically wielding all the weapons of all the Ninja Turtles as we know them. A story where this last Ronin basically trudging through this muck to get to the kind of isolated island city here. It's looking a little better than Trash Island because there's actual buildings and stuff like that. But it's basically an entire issue of this turtle trying to sneak into this facility that we will later find out is run by somebody who may be related to Shredder. I'll just kind of leave it for that for anyone that wants to check it out. But this entire issue is just a constant forward motion of this turtle basically getting to his goal and trying to get to the end. And what's cool, not knowing which turtle this was, and we'll see if Damon had kind of same thought. Were you trying to guess the whole way through based on the dialogue and just the style? I think it was written very well that would kind of leave you guessing the entire time. But did you pick up on any guesses or hints?
Yes, I think I know. Just based on it, it seems like he's, in his mind he can hear his brothers, and he has conversations with them, and just the way he responds to some of the comments his brothers say leads me to one particular turtle, and then some of his fighting and weapon choices leads me to one particular turtle, and then at the end I'm not going to say who, but we know who it's not, which is good because who I thought it was not that one that we know it's not.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't keep us, each issue they eliminate one until at the end you finally find out who it is. But and we can say off the air if you or do you want to say the guesses?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. We will leave the actual identity. My only thought, and I think you had looked into that a little deeper than I did, but there was one inner dialogue that this turtle had after kind of this big explosion moment, riding the bike and chucking that basically at these new versions of these foot soldiers. But there's one inner dialogue moment where the turtle goes, "Damn." And I just heard Raphael from the first movie. So I'm just like, okay, is this Raph? I mean, he definitely has this attitude, but I love everything about it because it had you guessing the entire time. So,
and surprisingly, that is my guess as well. I think it's Raphael. I won't say why. I mean, that was one of them. Especially since in the first live action movie, I think it's one of the first words you actually hear Raph say.
Yeah. Loses the thigh.
Yeah. He says that quite a bit. So yeah, that is my guess as who I think it is as well.
And then also when I looked at the back cover and you just see the Ronin, the R, but there's a very red background, and maybe that's a stylistic choice, but
I wouldn't read too much into that because this is also Eastman and Laird, and the original Turtles all wore red, so you can't play that game either.
That's right. All right. Well, I'm not going to play that game any further. I'll just play Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, or the Manhattan Project if I'm going to play a Turtles game. This I described this. I did a quick review online. I just said I think this is a perfect comic book. It had me into it the entire time. I didn't want to put it down. It's current forward motion, lots of fun action, and I was blown away by how awesome this book was. So
I didn't know if you're going to ask anybody else what their opinions were, but mine was rough from the beginning. But then after you talked about the cover with all the different weapons and stuff, that I thought, well, and for a second there you think Jenica, because all the brothers died, she got all the weapons. But then I thought a little bit further, and it's like, well, Casey Jones takes one of the dead turtles' bodies, takes the shell of his armor, takes all their weapons and stuff. Casey was the man with all the weapons. So.
Yeah, or it's Kevin Nash who played the Super Shredder and at the end of Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I thought this was great. Do we know how many issues this is going to be?
No.
Okay. Well,
Do you have any problems with it though? That's the question.
With the size of the book, you're saying?
No, with the actual.
I thought you meant because it doesn't fit the normal bag and board and it sticks out.
No.
No. I mean, I honestly just loved it from all the way through. What do you have?
One glaring issue I have with this, and it depends. I don't know how it is. Are we saying that the whole turtle timeline takes place in the future and this is like a new start, or is it the turtle timeline from today and turtles just live longer? The only reason I ask is because this is definitely set in a future apocalyptic world. There are flying cars in this. And yet towards the end, you do see April. Now, if we're going from the regular timeline, she'd be long since dead and gone of old age, but yet she still looks like she's in her early 20s in here, maybe her early 30s.
Well, she's looking pretty roughed up there.
What's that?
She's looking pretty roughed up on the page I'm looking at there.
Well, are you assuming that she's the biker chick that went down to find him? Because if you go by that,
no, because I'm just saying on the last page, without saying.
Yeah, she looks, but I mean, there's no way that with as futuristic as that city is, that's within our lifetime.
I only read it as like if I would read a future story from a Marvel or DC book where it's just like, we're going to write this off into the future because we'll never reach that future. So this is kind of like a what if in a sense. So I have no idea. That's almost like how I read every comic. Every comic is a what if comic if you really think about it.
I mean, you got a turtle in there, so why wouldn't April be in the same timeline as everything with turtle and everything?
Because he's a mutated turtle, and turtles have a naturally long lifespan. Don't like sea turtles live to be like 180 years old or something? And if he's a mutated turtle, that could actually prolong his
but sea
life.
turtles also have those big flapper arms. He's not a sea turtle.
But he definitely is turtle enough for the Turtle Club. Turtle. Anyone?
But yeah, other than that, and that's just me being a little too critical and all that.
Sure.
I thought it was great. It was like one big action sequence. And my favorite scene in this whole book, it is it's kind of a slight spoiler, but we are in the spoiler section. Is I really appreciate the Japanese mythology and like their old legends and like the 47 Ronin story and all that. And one of my favorite scenes at the end is when this turtle thought he was dying from damage he sustained. He went to commit sabukai, which is a real ritualistic suicide that samurais would do. And the way he laid out all the brothers' weapons and he put all their bandanas on there, and his whole point of all doing this was to bring honor to his family. That was another powerful moment that I really dug, that I'm surprised they actually would put something like that in a comic.
Yeah, that was a pretty strong moment. I agree.
And that made me really appreciate it so much more, that they would go that far to show and prove that, this isn't just fighting to fighting. This is about honor and about, the ties of your family and your history. And that was a very touchy moment.
Agreed. Yeah, it sounds like we're both excited for the upcoming issues, and maybe we'll get some of those answers on what we're talking about. So,
absolutely.
Cool. So that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, issue number 1. Let's jump over to Kirby and find out what Evil Ernie is up to this time.
All right, we got Evil Ernie Revenge, also co-starring Lady Death. I suppose I better put my close-up glasses instead of my faraway glasses here. Evil Ernest Fairchild was severely abused as a child. A scientific mishap and some supernatural tampering by the ravishing Lady Death led to his ability to reanimate and control the dead. In revenge, learn new insights to evil Ernie's tortured past. See the absolute destruction of New York City and watch the frightening outcome as the evil one and his wisecracking button buddy Smiley are separated. Meanwhile, Lady Death has reoccurring nightmares that she is brutally murdered by a demonic winged woman. Could this be Purgatory, the vampiric goddess of judgment? And don't miss the fear-fraught finale as Dr. Price goes over the edge in his quest to cure evil Ernie once and for all. Says Ernie fighting against Dr. Price and his own little minions of the dead that evil Ernie can't figure out right away that why he's not able to mind control him like he can with all his dead that he reanimated. And this Dr. Price apparently must have been like evil Ernie's psychiatrist when he was a child, because he keeps going back to those days with his parents and stuff. And Ernie, like it says a couple times, gets separated from Smiley. And when evil Ernie doesn't have Smiley on him, evil Ernie can't use his arcane energy to regenerate himself. So the doctor tries to keep the button away or destroy the button so they can kill off evil Ernie, to the point where Lady Death will have to come and save him, and then they can attack and kill Lady Death, which is their main priority. But I don't want to go on beyond that and stuff. But he's basically on a good path to his mission of Megadeth, and this doctor steps in and kind of puts all plans at halt for a while, and it's fun as always with all the evil Ernie ones and stuff, and Smiley's a blast in here, of course, as usual. But yeah, you have all your little characters, a little appearance by Purgatory and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's originally a 4-issue run of comics, and this is the trade paperback version. So yeah, evil Ernie, check them out.
Cool. Now, if I don't think I'm mistaken here, but I want to check in with Sean. We just talked about the Ninja Turtles. Did you do you have a quick Ninja Turtle comic book story to share at all from childhood?
This one is unfortunately it always makes hardcore fans cringe. So I got into Ninja Turtles with the cartoon and didn't realize at the time that the comics were black and white. Like that was my first exposure to comics through like my older brothers taking me up to a comic book store. I was like, oh, I'll get these Ninja Turtle comics. And I was severely disappointed when I realized that they weren't in color like the cartoon. So I had a few of the original Ninja Turtle issues, and I used them as coloring books because I wanted them to be. And this is a story that every time I have to tell it to any hardcore comic fan, they immediately want to murder me, because it was, first printings and stuff like that from the late 80s that my brothers had picked up for me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And I know Kurt, who is one of the co-owners of the Crimson Cowl, who isn't on the podcast at all, but he would have that same kind of reaction that Damon had. And
yeah.
He'd probably storm out and have to go smoke or something. So, but yeah, I just kind of remembered that, and I'm like, you know what? I think that should be brought up so more people know about that. All right, we are going to jump over to Katie, who is, of course, our Jedi ambassador.
Yay! Okay, another week, another Star Wars comic. This time it's coming from the 2020 Star Wars line. Got rebooted earlier this year, then got put on hold because of the shutdown. Now we're back in gear. So I'm going to review Star Wars number 7 and 8, written by Charles Soule. So in this little 2-issue arc, we follow an Imperial officer named Zara, who was a protege of Grand Moff Tarkin. And in book 7, we find out how she came to be under Tarkin's tutelage and influence, and how she fell out of that. Now, as we know, Grand Moff Tarkin died on the Death Star, and this lady did not. and she's pretty upset about that. And then in issue 8, she goes into some aggressive negotiations with Princess Leia, where she is trying to transfer her blame and guilt onto Leia, and kind of in a sense almost like avenge herself to Grand Moff Tarkin, because she had fallen out of favor a little bit, and she never really got a chance to make that up to him. And now she feels like, well, if I confront Leia and if I hurt her and if I destroy her image with the rebellion, then I'll be making up for that. So that was pretty cool. We did have a little guest appearance by a certain farm boy, so that was kind of cool to see him show up. Always appreciate that. And see him not automatically be the best at fighting this lady. Something unique for the Star Wars world is that Officer Zara was like fighting with an actual blade, like an actual sword, not a blaster or a lightsaber or anything like that. So that was pretty interesting. And it pulled in some details from the novel called Tarkin, which I appreciated. I had read that and really enjoyed it. Pretty cool. Interesting always to see a bad guy who isn't Vader or the Emperor or Thrawn. I kind of like those bad guys that are a little bit more cerebral, where they do more thinking and they're motivated by more than just beat people with my lightsaber. Although, as you guys know, Darth Vader is an awesome bad guy. I love reading his books. I enjoyed it. So I definitely missed my Star Wars books during the shutdown. And then, you know, obviously with all the uncertainty in the world, had some bigger problems. But it's nice to be reading that series again. I have enjoyed very much so far what Charles Soule is doing with the main series. I think he is definitely earned his place there, and he's right where he should be. I'm excited about his future in the Star Wars books and comics. So yeah, that is my review of Star Wars issue number 7 and 8. Go check them out.
Cool. Yeah, I checked these out as well. And for those that didn't, if you want to elaborate on the farm boy, was that at all Foghorn Leghorn at all?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to, just double check that I read the same issue. And yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
All right, I say, let's go over to Jim next.
All right, this is one of my Halloween selections this year. This is Blood, the graphic novel. When the blood moon bleeds red in the night sky, a beast descends upon the village of Kessler, hunting for human life. A remote frontier village has fallen under a curse. With the full moon comes a horror that walks like a man but kills like a beast. Abigail Thorne lives under the threat of a terror that stalks the woods, as well as a mystery in her own blood that may tie her to the killings in a way she never suspected. That picture and that description, they pick it out of the catalog, and it was a good choice. It's a great mystery, a little bit of horror, a little bit of crime, and a lot of great artwork. Like I said, it is a frontier town. You get to see a nice small town sheriff dealing with crime, a weird crime. The town shuts up every year on the harvest moon until somebody has been killed, because the beast will hunt until killed, and after it's killed, they're good for another year. This Abigail that was mentioned in the description goes out and has to run home, and in the meantime, she gets attacked by this beast. Because nobody's killed, they all have to stay in for night after night after night until something happens. And finally, her father says, we have to leave town. On their way out of town, we reach the culmination of this mystery. And it's not who I thought it was. You quickly learn that there's something beyond a beast going on here. There's some other mystery. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was a good mystery. And so if you like the horror, you like they make it play up like a werewolf. And that's what it seems to be going on. There's, lots of killing that look like a werewolf did it. But in the end, we find out why and how it happened that it wasn't. So, or maybe it was. but you just don't see him happen that way. So I really recommend this to those of you who like the horror stuff and those of you who like the werewolf stuff. The story, now I'm not sure how this works. The story is by Ram Getz and John Cochran, adapted by Chuck Dixon with Brett Smith. So I think those first two actually wrote a story in like a novel or something, and then Chuck and Brett turned it into the graphic novel part. So, Chuck Dixon is, I think he's mostly known for editing books, comic books. So I think that's how they took this story that somebody else wrote and made it into the graphic novel format. And this is from someplace called Permuted Press, which I had never heard of before.
Cool. How'd you come across this one?
I was on the Midtown when I was scrolling through their previews.
Well, cool. Yeah, I'm always curious, just with, especially from like a publisher we're not familiar with. That cool.
First of all, that picture is what made me stop, and then the description that I read.
Yeah, that'll
is
help.
what sold it.
Good. All right. This is something that I think was engineered to appeal to me. This is Penultiman, issue number 1, from the pages of the from the pages of the Ahoy interactive sensation steel cage. Penultiman, the next to the last stage in human evolution, is the greatest, best looking, and most admired superhero in the world. So how can he stop hating himself? And you know what? Now that I'm reading this, I forgot to throw Sean into the mix. So Sean will talk after this. Let's see. His android understudy, Anti-Penultiman, thinks he knows the answer. This is a crazy book. I didn't know really what to expect out of this one. I picked it up because of the name. I am a fan of penultimate issues of comics, and this is something that I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I don't think I had jumped into Ahoy Comics at all, but yeah, the fact that this guy, the superhero, is kind of from a society where everybody is great. It's kind of, everyone is super in a way. He kind of has this Superman mentality and kind of look and abilities and all that kind of stuff. But he's actually not as great as everybody where he came from. He is only Penultiman, and he's basically sent out to a new world. I'm assuming just our world here to kind of be the superhero. But he gets a message from his homeland, his home planet. Penultiman, my son, come home. We need you. And he's like, okay, I was kind of cast out of this place because I'm not as great as everybody. And he basically uses his android understudy, as they say, to kind of fill in for him, to kind of pretend, to make the world feel that Penultiman has never left. And so when the Penultiman kind of goes, he kind of has his own little journey as he returns to his homeland. But there's a reason why he comes back and realizes that his understudy has now somehow formed a friendship and a partnership with the villain of this world. And basically, Penultiman had left, come back, and everything sort of have changed with his image. And he's kind of upset that something had happened while he was away. He was simply just supposed to just kind of pretend and make it seem like he had never went anywhere. As far as the art goes, we can see as the viewer that it is a very robot looking version. You might be able to tell a little bit on the cover. You kind of see, some of the guidelines on the mouth, kind of like a ventriloquist type of dummy mouth, robot mouth going on there. But appearing to the rest of the world, he's just meant to be that, he's the normal hero. But yeah, this was interesting. I wasn't quite sure if this was something I was going to stick with. And but by that end reveal, the way he kind of came back and the whole world was kind of changed while he was away, it kind of really does make me want to go back and basically ends on the note of going, "What have you done?" So I'm curious to see how long this is going, and I would at least want to follow through until the penultimate issue of Penultiman to see if I would go for the final one or not. So, but yeah, this was kind of fun. I think it's a four or five issue miniseries, so I think I will see this through. This one here is from Tom Pyre, Alan Robinson, Lee Loridge, and Rob Steen. Penultiman, issue number 1. All right, now we're gonna go over to Sean. He's got a comic that he's gonna talk about here. Take it away.
Yeah. I was going to quickly talk about Fantastic Four number 24 or Legacy number 669. I don't know if anyone read the Empire event, but I'd kind of taken a break from big Marvel events in the last couple of years that didn't involve the X-Men, just because I was a little burnt out. So right before COVID happened, I, got my Kree Scroll wore out, all ready to get into it. So the event was obviously it was a little bit weird because one issue came out, I think maybe 1 or 2 issues came out, and then there was the break. So I feel like it kind of lost all steam. But the one thing that I really did enjoy was this particular issue of Fantastic Four, because one of the things that I really loved back when I was growing up with most events was it always kind of felt like Marvel did a good job, I think, back in the day of having breather issues at the end of events. Kind of a lull where you could see the characters dealing with the outcome of whatever just happened, and you'd kind of get a breath before you were off into the next thing. So for me, this one's a good one. It's written by Dan Slott. He had often talked about how he had this one and done Iceman used to be a member of the Fantastic Four in between raindrops of continuity kind of story. And this is it. So it's probably the best Iceman we've gotten written wise quite a few years. You see some of the stuff. I don't want to go into spoilers for the end of Empire, but you see the whole family coming together, the Fantastic Four, and you see some new developments in Alicia and Ben's life, which is fun. Paco Medina does the art, and every flashback scene where Iceman contends that he was a member for the team in a time period when Johnny had thrown a fit and stormed out. So every time that they do the flashback stuff, Paco Medina does a really good and interesting kind of fun pointillism effect, like the old little red dots from back in the day. So I thought that was fun and handled well. I'm a pretty big continuity guy, but I think this is done well in the way where it doesn't take anything away from anything that was established, but still gives you kind of like a fun modern story that also kind of harkens back to the old school days. And it basically catches you up on what's going on with Fantastic Four before the following issue 25 kicks off like a new arc. So if you were to want to jump on to Dan Slott's Fantastic Four and do it with 25, because that's the new story, it would behoove you to pick up 24 if you're into fun comics, because that's what it is. It's a fun comic.
Cool. And you went over it pretty quick, but I'm a fan of puns, so I want to make sure everybody heard that Johnny Storm stormed out of the scene. You had said that. I think that just needs to be.
He got a little hot-headed. It got heated.
Yeah.
He stormed out. Iceman was able to cool everything down. It was good.
Yeah.
He thought out the situation.
See, I don't even need to do anything. I can just sit back and let all the puns work themselves out. So, all right, perfect. And I think we're going to have one more review here in the weekly segment. Let's jump over to Kirby.
I talked about Itty Bitty Hellboy last week, and then I luckily just came across Itty Bitty Mask.
Oh, yeah.
By Art Baltazar and Franco. This is great. Family friendly, just like Hellboy, Itty Bitty Hellboy was. It's a fun little story about a guy going in wanting to get a gift for his wife, and he sees the mask and decides to buy it, thinking it's a beauty item, like a clay mask. and he basically steals the mask. He doesn't really pay for it when he first buys it from the guy, but he keeps trying to buy the mask, and he's not listening to the guy, and he keeps telling him, mask not for you, but he takes it anyways and leaves the store. And later on you find out that he never paid for it, and then tries to pay him again for it, but he takes off with it. His wife's mother gets the mask and accidentally puts it on, and she goes crazy and has her fun run around, and her ability basically makes her knit a ton of things, a giant shirt that basically covers a whole building. She goes crazy making pancakes for everybody, and there's pancakes all over the city going on. And it's kind of unique because Franco in here, the lady that's plays the grandma, is basically drawn from Franco's mom. Franco and Art also have characters in here and stuff drawn up. And it's just tons of fun. Lots of different people keep getting the mask and putting it on, and the guy that originally had the mask just keeps going around saying mask not for you, and then a lion puts it on and he says mask not for lion, and a whole zoo ends up getting the mask put on, all the different characters, lions, giraffes, elephants and stuff, and it's just all kinds of fun ensues throughout these comics. But yeah, it's great for kids, great for adults. I love all the Mask series, so I was so happy to get my hands on it. But oh yeah, guys, Art Baltazar and Franco, there's tons of great little comics that they keep working on. They're family friendly, so check those out. Sure to make you laugh.
Awesome. Yeah, I do have to read those yet, so I'm excited to check that out. So, all right, that will do it for the weekly reviews. We have one more segment, that is the news.
Guys, I'm actually gonna jump off right now, so
Okay.
I'll catch y'all later. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Sounds
Take care
good.
and get over to Kobe.
Get well soon.
Yep, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Just got to queue up my first pick here.
This is the preview section.
Yeah, we'll start with Marvel, and then you can list all of your DC titles later.
I don't know if
I
you
actually
see
might be I might be taking off now too.
Okay. Do you want to kick it off if we start, and then you just say what you want to say?
I mean, I don't have anything that is coming out from the new previews, but I did have something where I was like, hey, it might be something that you're interested in. So I could.
Yeah, I'll just jump. I'm going to start it right now, and I'll just have you kick it off. So, and then you can say your exit right there on air. All right.
It was good finally meeting you.
It was nice. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I look forward to the Zoom Christmas party.
Absolutely. Come anytime.
Definitely come back.
Yeah, this is fun.
Okay, so we are recording. Let me get my Zoom window back up here. Okay, here we go. Welcome back. This is the new segment. We're going to cover the Marvel and DC previews for products coming out in January and beyond. But first, a special message from our special guest star, Sean. What do you gotta recommend here?
Yeah, well, I was going to recommend the Stan Soapbox collection because it's all of Stan Lee's soapbox columns from September 1967 to May of 1980, and it was put out by the Hero Initiative. So if you had any interest in this time, wanted a voice of calm that I think we all have missed since November of 2018, you should definitely, go through and read some of Stan's soapboxes. Because I know that when we all read Stan Lee, we all hear the voice in our heads, and that's nice to hear.
I don't know how I missed out on that one. I think I heard about it a while back, but
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Gonna have to add that to the pile.
It's got like the nice thing is it's got little comments by other writers about what was going on in Marvel at the time and other pages and like what was going on in the country to kind of draw where Stan was coming from in some of the columns. So it's pretty good.
All right, so that's a great recommendation. And you, I hear that you have to take a flight. You have to go on a mission with the with the Fantastic Four. You got to storm out of here.
That's right. I've got to storm out of here. So thank you for having me. And I will hopefully be back soon. So
all right. Good to see you, spider friend. Excelsior. All right. So we're going to jump into the Marvel previews here first. And the first item that I was excited to talk about, the King in Black, is starting up. I think issue 3 is coming out in this current catalog, but there's a couple spin-offs and stuff going on here. And there's something I'm really excited about is King in Black: Return of the Valkyries, issue number 1. And this is something I was pretty pumped up for. Jane Foster returns. Once there was an entire army of Valkyries, but now Jane Foster is the only one. When the King in Black comes to Midgard, Jane must rebuild the Valkyries to help stop him, starting with the Hildegard, a warrior from Asgard's own hallowed halls. Sorry, I'm squinting here to see the rest of this. And X-Man Danny Moonstar, a former Valkyrie herself. But basically, once I saw Valkyrie and I saw that it was a Jane Foster related story, I knew that I was going to have to jump in. So King in Black spinoff, Return of the Valkyries. That's my first pick. Jump over to Kirby. Because Damon's gone. So jump over to you.
Yeah, I know we're just dissipating here. But the Immortal Hulk Flatline one-shot. One creator, one Hulk, one superstar story. Declan Shalvey writes and draws an Immortal Hulk tale that gets to the heart of Gamma. Every morning, Bruce Banner wakes up in a new place. The Hulk is trying to tell him something, but Bruce has had enough, and his green vein alters when a new Gamma-powered villain shows up in a small New Mexico town. Bruce is forced to confront the source of his anger, and it's not what you expect. Don't miss this extraordinary tale from one of the industry's top talents. But I like that it's a Hulk one-shot, so I'm going to check it out.
Cool. All right. Katie.
Okay, I am very excited about Star Wars High Republic #1 from Marvel Comics. The writer is Cavan Scott. I'm really pumped to see him on this book. He has really worked his way up from doing a lot of the Star Wars at IDW. Then he wrote the Star Wars Count Dooku book. I'm pumped to see him on a main Marvel comic, and I am excited for this new era of Star Wars. Star Wars The High Republic #1. I'm guessing it's going to be an ongoing, and it is $3.99 in shops January 6th, 2021.
Very good. Jim.
I have nothing new from Marvel this month. I'm just getting the continuation of the Avengers.
Okay. I also have everything that's continuing it on. So other than the High Republic, that one I'm excited for as well. So that will complete my Marvel. Kirby, we're back at you.
The other one I wanted to check out was another one-shot, Legend of Shang-Chi, since I never got a hold of the first new Shang-Chi comic that came out. But it's Deadly Hands versus Deadly Blades. Plus, someone has been stealing artifacts of weapons of mass destruction potential. It's up to Shang-Chi to find this person and stop them. But is he prepared to go toe-to-toe with Lady Deathstrike? Yeah, I want to check that out since I missed out on the 5 comic run.
Cool. Anything left for you, Katie?
Nope, unless we do a club pick. Everything else is ongoing.
All right. Well, that's going to be quick. We'll jump right over to DC. So let's actually start with Jim. Anything from DC from you over there?
Well, I really took a hard look at what DC was going to be doing for the next 2 months with their future state. And I looked at everything and finally decided that, no, I can't do everything. So I am only going to stick with those titles that I normally read. And that is going to be Future State Dark Detective, and Future State New Batman and the Future State Justice League. And I'm not even sure exactly what they are, but because they're in place of what I normally would order, I'm going to be with them. And this Future State overall looks like it's going to be interesting in that it's only going to be a 2-month run for everything. And there are going to be a lot of anthology books where there's going to be, 4 or 5 stories per book rather than one story, by multiple writers. So that looks interesting. It's just, unfortunately, my budget won't manage to get the whole thing at once. So
All right.
that looks really interesting from DC.
Yeah, I was kind of in that same boat of being like, okay, what am I going to get here as some of the main series take a pause for Future State. But I mostly shopped around at the creators. That's kind of what drew me into where I was going to go here. So I'm just kind of going down the list to get some of those. Well, first I wanted to get the Harley ones. So I threw in Harley, but there's a Harley, Wonder Woman. There is the Supergirl one, which is titled Superwoman for this Future State. There is
on that.
Yeah, there is a Swamp Thing related one, but yeah, I was going in with that same idea, and then I saw a lot of cool variants, and there was one of them that their DC was making me choose between Jenny Frison and Joelle Jones for some of the variants. It might be the Wonder Woman one, and I'm like, you know what? You're gonna make me choose. Well, I guess I'm buying both because I need both of those. So, so I went in being like, I'm not gonna get anything too crap on getting more than I wanted to, but I'm mainly going creator focus, less than character focus. But yeah, so that's my Future State for DC Future State. Kirby, anything from DC over there?
No, I couldn't find anything. It's like
Okay.
Dr. Kurt's dad. I'm tired of him coming out with so many different big heavy runs. It's like I'd like to see some stuff, but we'll see.
All right, let's jump over. Katie, anything from DC there?
Yes, I am interested in 2 Wonder Woman issues from Future State. So there is and then just Wonder Woman. I don't know what the difference is, but that could be exciting. I'm also excited. Jones is writing and drawing one of the books, and she does some really good artwork. So yeah, that would be my DC pick, unless we do something as a club.
Cool. Yeah, as mentioned, my last thing for DC, I'm excited for this portfolio book from Joelle Jones. This is the DC poster portfolio. And actually, I just skipped over Jim. I just realized. Did you have anything else, Jim?
Nothing that I hadn't mentioned. No.
That was all the rest. DC poster portfolio, Joelle Jones trade paperback. It's a $20 purchase. This is a DC spotlight on top cover artist continues with the latest entry being Joelle Jones. This collection includes 20 of Jones's most compelling DC covers, including a work on Catwoman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Being Super, and more. Going through, there's probably a good portion of these that I own as they came out in single issues, but this is printed on a heavy cardstock paper at a big 12 inches by 16 inches. The pages of the poster portfolio are easily removed from the binding and are suitable for framing. But yeah, there's very few artists I would jump in, and Joelle Jones is one of those. So I guess I'm going to buy my first portfolio book. Anyone else get any of these portfolio books before?
I got one from Jim Lee's stuff, and
Okay.
I didn't catch that it was going to be that size. So while I enjoy the book, it's just one that's hard to put away.
Yeah. See, that's what I thought. I thought I remember you bringing that one or having it there when you picked it up or something. But yeah, I'm going to definitely check that one out. So that would do it for my DC, and I think that's going to do it for all of us here. Let me send a message over to David really quick to let
I
him
think he
know.
passed out from exhaustion over there.
Yep. He had said that he had some other stuff going on, so he was going to step out, but
He doesn't look too healthy.
yeah, it's What's interesting, he's using one of his CGI backgrounds again because we are looking at the old comic book store, and I don't know if that's some kind of like is it a cat interfering there? We see a skull from some skull that's magically just appearing out of nowhere. I think he's been abducted there, but all right. But I told him so, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be here for the exit, so I bought enough time for him to run down and buying just a little more in case he shows up. But you know what? This is going to conclude this issue of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Check us out on iTunes and all the other podcast outlets, as well as Under the Cowl and Kirby's podcast, which is
Under the Cowl of MS.
Yep. You hear about some mini comic reviews, as well as several times a week. You'll get episodes and updates on MS, and you'll get some. You haven't had any too many recipes. The recipes are pretty heavy, but now you're kind of coming in with some bonus comic strips at the end. You have a Sunday newspaper strip focus.
Sunday comics.
Yep. And but yep, so you got a lot of fun stuff that I've said it before, but I don't think anybody else is doing that podcast. So that's why you got to check out Under the Cowl of MS. All right.
And surprisingly, it's back. One of the greatest podcasts out there. AB Conversation is back on a weekly basis now.
That's right. Honestly, I completely forgot about it. That skull turned into a full-fleshed human there. So before Crimson Cowl happened, I did a podcast with my buddy Brent called the AB Conversation, and we've been off the air for 2 or 3 years, but we surprised all 3.5 of our listeners that we came back with a Halloween special for 2020. So you can check that out, AB Conversation on iTunes. And you actually hear me go in greater depth of the X-ray robot experience. I kind of gave what I say is a brief version. May not have been brief to anyone listening, but there's a longer version there. But in that podcast, we do a segment for movies, television, comic books, video games, food, the In Your Mouth segment that's ever so popular.
In your mouth.
Yes, and so there is a giant podcast there, and there are some back catalog episodes available. So that's the AB Conversation if you want to hear me talk even more. So a lot of different podcasts. Jim, Katie, you have any podcasts to drop? Anything? Okay.
Don't do many podcasts.
You just stick to the best ones here, the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Yeah.
What more do you need?
Exactly. So this entire time, I've been wanted by the FBI.
I've been jumping through alternate dimensions.
I've been psychotically evil Kirby.
I'm the realtor of Trash Island.
I healed your greatest wound, so now I can be your greatest pain.
To be continued.